Well, looking at one of the bigger topics of recent time, and that is how to sequester carbon. Among the 5 priority areas in the technology roadmap that's been announced by the Minister for Energy and Emissions and Reduction, Angus Taylor, was one surprise: soil carbon capture and storage. Grant King, who is chairman of the Technology Roadmap Working Group, has said that soil is the key to achieving zero emissions by 2050. And John McDonnell, writing for us here at Flow News 24, says there is no doubt that soil carbon capture and storage works, and that an Australian company, Wilmot Cattle Company, by employing carbon-friendly farming practices with rigorous monitoring, have showed it had sequestered enough carbon in its soils to absorb all the emissions produced by Microsoft in a year. And this technique for storing carbon in the soils are well known. They are involved in maintaining ground cover to conserve moisture, and by reducing the use of chemicals, they enhance soil biology. The growing band of regenerative farmers are showing how the past degradation of our agricultural soils can be addressed. We don't yet know how far this reversal process can go, because we haven't yet measured it to any great extent, says John, but the government's technology roadmap report says agriculture land could capture up to 90 million tonnes of greenhouse gases a year, or 17% of Australia's annual emissions. But to become economic, the cost of measuring soil carbon, which currently requires in-field measurement, needs to fall from $30 a hectare to $3 a hectare. Angus Taylor is focused on getting the cost of carbon measurement down. A spokesman for the minister told Nine Media the price reduction could be a game changer. Prime Minister Scott Morrison has flagged that the new National Soils Strategy is coming in the May federal budget, including a countrywide soil monitoring program and support for farmers to boost soil health. Soils can trap significant volumes of greenhouse gases, which is sucked out of the atmosphere by plants and stored underground. The healthier the soil, the more carbon that is sucked underground, and farmers are encouraged this process by changing cropping and grazing practices. Angus Taylor's decarbonisation strategy champions the development of new ways to account for carbon sequestration in farm soils through a combination of measurement, modelling and remote sensing that will enable more farmers to make use of an accurate and cost-effective methodology to access the Emissions Reduction Fund and get paid for rebuilding their soil carbon. National Farmers Federation President Fiona Simpson supports the government's goal for soil carbon, but warned its policy must be formed because it was disadvantaging farmers who had made phenomenally expensive investments to switch to sustainable practices. The government's current scheme only pays farmers for the carbon sequestration achieved after a deal is signed, and given that these farmers have made a contribution towards meeting either the Kyoto or Paris targets, it is only reasonable that they be compensated if their emissions reduction contribution can be effectively measured. In addition, all the cattle farmers in Australia should be encouraged to participate in the scheme. However, there is still a push for the Nationals to exclude farmers from the ambit of the emissions reduction scheme. So this is a battle that is coming for Scott Morrison and also for Michael McCormack. The best way to move forward in terms of getting farmers on board with the carbon scheme, or farmers are going to be compensated reasonably for their work.